Hello, Silver Squad. How's it going? What's going on, everybody? Hello, hello, hello. How are you? If you could please drop a number 1 down in the comment section so that I know I can hear you. Um, Y'all, I am trying to get it to not be blurry. I'm sorry. I've been sitting here. I just grabbed my coffee and I'm doing this. Let me see what I don't know why it's this way. Y'all in there? Hello? Do. Hello? We got ones in the comment. We got hello, Emily. Hello, Tori. Hello, Indy. I hope everybody's doing lovely. Thank y'all for joining. Welcome everyone to the sofa, keeping the cushions fluffed and me in line, I guess you could say. I hope everybody's doing well. I hope everybody's having a wonderful week. Yeah, I don't know why. And see when I do this, see, it works in the hand. But then we do this. Boom. There we go. Woo! Okay. There we go. Hello, everybody. All right. I'm back. I hope y'all are doing well. Sorry for the late notice. I forgot to email Emily and Tori and Indy, so I appreciate y'all joining in last minute. Anyways, so what we're going to be doing, first of all, before we even get into the little update with this or whatever, I am curious, is anybody out there watching current trials going on right now? Pardon me. Oh, you know what? You're right. It probably does focus on the thing, Wampa. Thank you. I started watching the one about the kid who I don't know, the kid, basically anybody to me in their 20s at this point kind of seems like a kid, right? But the young man or whatever who killed his mother, I started watching the opening statements. That one sounded tricky. Did any of y'all watch that? You didn't know about it, yeah. Oh, thanks, SD. I appreciate it. But yeah, let me know because I'm kind of curious it might be in Florida, Kath. It seems like it was. That one with RA. Okay, yeah. Hey, Aaron, how's it going? Hey, Ohio. I got to look it up. I just listened to the opening statements a little bit of it because I was like, what trials are going on? And then there's that one with the hair. I think, yeah, the one where he killed his dad first, maybe. Pardon me. Hey, Calamity. I think that's what it was. So, pardon me. Yeah, it sounded terrible. Hello, Linus. How's it going? Okay, so yeah, this case specifically, so the one on here. Hey, Chrissy, it's good to see you. I hope you're doing well. I'm feeling okay. It's good to see your face and your picture and then your name. So yeah, the update today, and honestly, it won't be that big of a live chat tonight or whatever. But I saw this and I was like, okay, so many people always ask me about updates for this case, and then also they just come back to it or whatever. It's a very tragic case. It's honestly one of the saddest, most kind of bizarre cases I can remember covering here. Sorry, I've got like a little back of the head headache. But it's the case of Cortney Bell and Christopher Mcnabb. And the victim, the baby, was 14. I want to say it's 14-year-old, 14-day-old, 2-week-old baby Kalia. Okay, so very quick 60-second overview to get us up to date. And what we'll do is we will watch a couple of the things to get you like on track because it's a very complicated case. There's a lot of witnesses and a lot of different things. Hey, Audra, how's it going? Hey, Ann. Hey, Wampo. Wampo. So basically, long story short, Cortney and Chris they have a couple of kids, but they have, the baby or whatever. So Cortney calls cops, baby's missing, so on and so forth. Eventually, said child is found. Let's call kind of in a burial situation in the woods, right? Okay, so Christopher Mcnabb is eventually arrested for this crime, charged with it. Cortney is charged, but with like other charges. Okay, basically creating an environment. We're going to listen to what the judge says because it's a rare glimpse in a courtroom proceeding of a judge talking to a defendant about something very specific, and it's interesting during the sentencing or whatever. So she's charged with other charges that basically are like not directly related to, like, she didn't put her hand in the kid, right? Kind of a thing. Now, basically what happened is the baby was found with some pretty extreme, let's just say, head trauma, and that's what seemingly took the baby's life. Okay. So this garnered a lot of attention because it's one of those things of, and there's a lot going on with the family, okay, and the extended family and all this type stuff. So it was very heartbreaking because you could see a lot of testimony where people really loved and cared for, the children, the baby, and then other people felt like other people didn't, right? At the end of the day, they were both found guilty, okay? And both were shocked to be found guilty. And Cortney, however, in the future was eventually she got her charges overturned. Okay, and we'll go into that a little bit too. We'll watch a thing on that from Court TV. So she got these overturned because hers legally, and again, I'm not a lawyer or anything like that, right? But from a legal perspective, there was a lot going on her side of the fence with her case. That's here nor there, though, right? So her things were overturned. She gets out eventually, and then she's wanted on new charges, some kind of drug charges or whatever. So they're still looking for her. I don't know if they found her yet or not. It's just all around unfortunate and heartbreaking. So what I want to do is I want to start off by looking at her sentencing, because that aspect of it, like I said, is, you're watching someone, honestly, probably arguably at a low point in their life, clearly, right? But you're hearing the judge, and this is the biggest thing here, because she's upset, obviously, as any of us will be, about getting convicted. And he's like, Cortney, we talked, and he uses this analogy, okay? And to kind of break down like the charges and why she was charged with these and the confusion and whatnot. So we're going to start off with that one. Now, Christopher Mcnabb, who he is still incarcerated, he has not gotten out. I don't know the updates with his case. I don't know any of that. But he was charged directly with being the one responsible for taking the baby's life. Oh, Chrissy, thank you. You don't have to do that. Hold on, what'd you say? I'm so sorry for my absence. Hold on, I want you to know that it was. Hold on, because I didn't want to be here. I was in the hospital. Oh my god! Unfortunately, I went through a breakup. Oh my god, Chrissy, I'm so sorry to hear that. Is it the okay? Okay, so I'm gonna text you or send me an email or something. But is it the guy that I knew about that you were with? Is it him that you broke up with, or is it somebody else? And were you okay through the robbery? Send me an email. That is terrible. My God, I'm so sorry. Hey, John, how's it going? Hey, Carly, I don't know if I said hey to you. Yeah, that's just terrible, Chrissy. I'm sorry. Oh, my heart goes out for you. Okay, hold on. Let me find my thing over here. I'm going to put this up. And then where we go here? Boom, 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 boom. Is it this? Okay, here we go. So again, this is the sentencing, right? I'm gonna push it's a few minutes long. I'll speed it up a little bit. Well, no, actually, let's listen to it normal because it's very interesting in that way. But let me find a bigger thing. All right, here we go. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, where are we at? Boom, boom, boom. Here we go. Okay. How many of y'all?
Let's turn now to a sentence.
Drop a one if you can hear it.
Does the state have any evidence it wishes to offer in aggravation?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Mr. Frost, do you have any evidence you wish to order in mitigation?
Judge, I would just like to state that Miss Bell's crimes, as found by the jury to be guilty, were more of her being a willing victim, and that spilled over into what happened as to her children. It's terrible, and it's extremely sad that happened. But I don't think that, and obviously she was not charged to the level that Mr. Mcnabb was. And I would just ask the court to take those factors. She didn't have the opportunity of having an upbringing, as I think I discussed in my closing. She had no role models for that. She was suffering from addiction and abuse. And should she have done something? Yes, she should have. She didn't, and that's what led her here. And but I think that there's through courses, coping mechanisms, things that she might learn through prison classes and afterwards, there would certainly be the possibility of her being someone who could be a productive member of society if she were to embrace some of those things and put them to use in her life. So we would ask the court to take those into consideration. Thank you.
Does your client wish to make any statements?
I didn't do this. Y'all know I didn't do this.
Ms. Bell, you and I had a conversation
We did.
back in chambers on Wednesday, remember, morning? And at the time I told you there's a difference between the reality of the situation and what you think. I explained to you exactly why you were being charged with the crimes. It wasn't that you knew about the murder. It wasn't that you anticipated the murder. It wasn't that you planned the murder. Any of those things. It was simply that you created an environment that caused your children to be put second and Mr. Mcnabb to be put first. As the state said in their closing, and they used the example of a rattlesnake being thrown into a room and the child being put into there. Well, your whole claim is I took him back because I wanted to have a family. In that analogy the state used, it's just kind of like saying your child's dead from a rattlesnake bite. Why would you put it in there? And you responded, well, I just wanted her to enjoy nature, have an appreciation of the outdoors without appreciating the danger. Now, I'm sorry, but for you to go around chasing Mcnabb, doing meth, flies in the face of what any normal mother would do. We hear stories out in society, I mean, out everywhere. The mother bear, they're so ferocious. Why? Because you're messing with their child. All those kind of things. And you chose methamphetamine and Mcnabb over a baby.
It's a sickness, but I tried to be a good mama. I love my babies.
The problem, Ms. Mcnabb, is that like most criminals, you have this version of what a good mama is that is so far from the norm that, you know, you go anywhere in this county, talk to anybody who's watching this and say, is it a good mama who doesn't even care about her 14-year-old baby? Put them with a cousin. I know of instances where mamas won't even let in the first couple of weeks of a child's life people around the child for fear that the child's immune system hadn't been built up and they don't want germs brought into the child. They go to that extent. You went just the exact opposite direction. And there's just no excuse for that. On count, well, let's talk about this. Count 2 merges with count 1.
Yes, Judge.
What's the thought about count 3?
I think it's fine, Judge. It does not merge.
Okay. On count 1, I'm going to sentence you with 30 years, with the first 15 years to be served in confinement in the state penitentiary, the remaining time on probation. On count 3, I'm going to sentence you to 10 years in confinement and run at the same time as count 1. Now, do you understand your 2 sentences? And let the record reflect she's nodding her head slightly yes. And Ms. Bell, I'm going to give you the following rights that you have. Within 30 days, you have a right to appeal this case to the appellate level. You may start that process with a motion for new trial, which I'm going to direct the attorneys to file, just that skeleton general motion.
Yes, sir.
If at the time you decide, Ms. Bell, you can allege that your attorneys did an ineffective job. They just didn't do a good job. It has to be brought up at its earliest moment. The attorneys do not get their feelings hurt if you choose to do that. And we would appoint a conflict attorney to come in and take over the appeal. Do you understand it clearly about that? I need you to stand up first off. I need you to start verbalizing.
I understand.
Okay, because she's making a record on all this. It all has to be taken down. I'm also going to advise you that if the case is appealed to the appellate level and the appellate level affirms that case in the verdict and sends it back down for the service of the sentence, you have 4 years from the date it comes back down to file what is known as a writ of habeas corpus. That means I'm being illegally detained unconstitutionally, and I want my body out of jail. But it has to be done. It's a time-sensitive thing, and you only have 4 years to.
Okay. So let me come back over here. So that was that. Now, pardon me. Now in that one, to me, the way he broke that down for her and explained it, because I think that there's just this level of, again, her charges are just what he said. They're just kind of like that, like, okay, you didn't do it, but you created this environment, and she's sitting here like, but I didn't, physically do this to the child. You know what I'm saying? And I don't think that she physically did that to the child. Okay. I think basically what took place is what the judge said. He's like, look, you're being charged with this because of ABC, and that's what we're doing. Well, obviously, at the end of the day, her charges were her conviction was overturned, and we'll get to that in a minute. Now, what I want to do now is switch over to Chris. He had different charges. He was in the eyes of the court was looked upon as he was a direct result of what happened to the baby. Okay, now here's the other part. When we watch Chris, this is one of the things where a lot of people discovered this case through what we're about to watch, the sentencing, because it was I don't really know what to tell you about it. If you haven't watched this, if you have watched it, you know what we're getting ready to watch, and you're going to be like, oh my God. So I found the clip. I think it's from, let's see who it's from. One of the things that took place is right when he was going to, let's see where we at. Right when he was getting ready to sentence and whatnot, what's his name? Chris he just had a moment, let's call it. And the judge walked him right into it, and it was cringy and it went viral all over the place. Okay. So on this also, when they're like speaking and whatnot, like people can get up and talk and everything, a therapist or the psychiatrist or somebody like that will get up and talk and say some insane things about him, and that will be his biggest concern when the judge is like, do you have something to say? And he wants to kind of come back after this lady. That's the context. We'll watch it, you'll see what I'm talking about. Please hold. I'm just trying to find it. There it is. Let me make sure y'all are seeing the same thing. Here we go. Okay.
Is that 10-year sentence? Okay. Is everybody ready? Bring out Mr. Mcnabb. Are y'all ready for the sentencing hearing? You may be seated, Mr. Mcnabb. Let's turn to the sentencing hearing. And does the state have anything it wishes to offer in the way of aggravation?
Yes, Your Honor. We have several certified copies of convictions, as well as one witness that I believe is on her way here in the courthouse. The first would be State's Exhibit number 137, which is a certified adjudication order from juvenile court, case number 107-01J-0625 and 107-01J-0611. That is for disorderly conduct, where the defendant was adjudicated delinquent for that offense as a juvenile in June of 2001. State's Exhibit number 138 is also an adjudication order for case number 1007-00J-1281 and 1354, where the defendant was adjudicated delinquent for simple battery as a juvenile in January of 2001. Also case number 10799J702. This is State's Exhibit 139, which is an adjudication order from juvenile court for simple battery from November of 1999. We also have a Superior Court conviction out of the Superior Court of Bartow County. The defendant was convicted in Bartow County for theft by taking, entering a motor vehicle to commit a theft, criminal damage to property, burglary. He was sentenced on case number 2007-1989, and that was in October of 2007. That was State's Exhibit number 140. State's Exhibit number 141 is a criminal conviction for the Superior Court of Newton County, case number 2013 CR 1263-5. Defendant was convicted of theft by shoplifting and giving false information to a police officer. He was adjudicated guilty or sentenced on this particular case in the October term of 2013, and that's again State's number 141. Also State's number 142, which is a Superior Court of Newton County conviction on case number 2015 CR 02-5, where the defendant was convicted of obstruction of an officer. That again was a sentence from the January term of 2015. The state offers State's Exhibit number 143, which is the Superior Court conviction out of the Griffin Judicial Circuit, where the defendant, Christopher Michael Mcnabb, was convicted of obstructing and hindering a law enforcement officer felony, driving while license is suspended, driving on the wrong side of the roadway, speeding, stop sign violation, and failure to maintain lane. And that was in August of 2001. State offers exhibit number 144, which is a conviction out of Coweta County on case number 2013-0190. And there the defendant was convicted of one count of theft by taking, and that was in, looks like February of 2003. These are all certified copies of convictions that the state has for Christopher Michael Mcnabb, and I'm showing them to Mr. Carter now.
Judge, I have no objection to exhibits 140 through 144. I do object to the misdemeanor juvenile delinquent, juvenile adjudications.
Judge, I know the law is clear that anything can be used in aggravation, so juvenile adjudications are admissible. I have one witness.
Well, let me finish with this first, Ms. Zahn. I'm going to admit everything into evidence. If it makes any difference to you, the misdemeanors mean nothing to me, Mr. Carter. And I would not enhance sentencing at all because of the misdemeanors. Now, Ms. Zahn.
Your Honor, the state calls Priscilla Faulkner, Dr. Priscilla Faulkner. Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in the matter now pending before this court today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes,
Thank you. Please state your name.
Priscilla Faulkner.
And you are a doctor?
I am.
And a doctor of what?
Psychology.
I want to draw your attention back to October the 14th of 2017. Did you have the occasion to go to the Newton County Detention Center to have contact with Christopher Michael Mcnabb?
I did.
What was the nature of that contact?
Your Honor, I'm going to object because the notice of this aggravation was only provided to me last night.
And why is that a concern?
Because it should have been provided prior to trial, and it was only provided last night.
Ms. Zahn?
Well, Judge, I learned of it yesterday, and I reached out to Dr. Faulkner and spoke with her to confirm the veracity of this. I let Mr. Carter know last night, and Mr. Carter notified me this morning that he was already aware of this. So he's known about this. There's no prejudice or harm because he's known.
Is that correct, Mr. Carter?
I was aware of the situation. I was not aware that it was intended to be used as aggravation.
I'm going to allow the testimony.
Okay. What was the nature of your contact with Mr. Mcnabb?
I was evaluating him at the request of Newton DFACS.
And did you have the occasion to be working on your computer down there at the jail while you were talking to him?
I did.
And at some point in time, did Mr. Mcnabb tell you to look up?
He did.
And when you looked, where was he at in relation to you?
He was probably an inch or two away from the glass, right in front of my face.
So were you separated by glass?
We were separated by glass.
And what did you see when he asked you to look?
He was wearing a turtle suit, which is something that prisoners are wearing when they're on suicide risk. And that he wasn't wearing clothing under that, and he had pulled up the turtle suit and taken out his penis and was masturbating.
And did he masturbate to completion in your presence?
He did.
Thank you. Those are all the questions that I have.
No question, Joe.
I got a question. Can I address the court, please? I just got one thing I want to say, and that's it.
Excuse you from
I'd like to say it in front of her since she's the one accusing me.
Talk when your time comes. And at the time, you can say anything you want to. Is there any further evidence in offering of aggravation?
No, Judge.
Mr. Carter, do you have any evidence to offer in the way of mitigation?
I believe Mr. Mcnabb would like to address the court.
Okay, you may do so. You may stand up and address the court.
I just like the court to know, as well as everybody at home, since this is being broadcasted for whatever reasons, that I did have on a turtle suit and it velcros and it wasn't on properly and it didn't fit properly, and the velcros were not on good because they don't stick, because they've been used for so many years by so many different people, and I was not masturbating at all in front of her, period. The thing fell off when I stood up, and that was it. There was none of that. And I would have liked to have told her that, since she was the one making the accusation. Since I'm pretty sure by the law states that I have a right to confront my witnesses who accuse me of doing wrong. So I felt like I wanted to say it in front of her, since she was the one up here slandering me. And that's all I got to say.
You sure you don't want to talk about the sentencing and all of that? That was the only thing you wanted to tell the court?
I mean, I haven't heard anything about a sentence. I was just
Sentence
commenting on that. I
for the
understand that.
charges. And I just wanted to know if you had anything you wanted to say to the court.
I mean, I got a lot to say. I got a lot to say, but I'm not going to be able to say half of it.
I don't know, because I don't know what you're going to say.
I'm innocent. I didn't do it.
Okay.
I've maintained that the whole time. I feel like there was things that were allowed to be said that should have never been allowed to be said. It didn't have nothing whatsoever to do with the case and what was being said. Just because somebody has domestic abuse issues with their spouse doesn't mean that they would put their hands on their kids, which has also been pretty much proved that I've never touched my kids in any harmful manner whatsoever. I've never harmed my kids. I didn't even hear anything that said that I had done anything to her in front of the kids. So that doesn't make sense either. And, just to let the record show that I don't think I ever put my hands on her in front of those kids. And I just don't feel like just because somebody has domestic issues with the female in their life that they love, that they were just able to just say, oh, he don't love you and all that stuff just in front of everybody or whatever, which doesn't matter. But I just don't understand how you find somebody guilty of doing something to a 15-day-old baby, because there was no evidence whatsoever that proved anything about me putting my hands on my kids. I've never done it. I never would. I don't believe in it. I was beat as a child, and I don't agree with it at all. And I would never do it. I would never do this. That's all I got to say. I would never do it. I'm innocent.
Well, I can make a lot of comments on what you said. I can make a lot of comments on the trial, but I know that was just be arguing with you or talking with you. I'll ask you one simple question. You claim you're innocent, so you tell me what sentence the man or woman that you claim did this should receive.
If you ever find out who did them, they deserve to be under the jail.
Okay, so they ought to get the maximum sentence.
Most definitely.
Okay. On the crime of malice murder, I sentence you to life in confinement without parole. On concealing the death of another, I sentence you to 10 years in confinement, consecutive or after. Count one. Do you understand each of your sentences?
Yes, sir.
I want to advise you that you have 30 days after today to file a notice of appeal
It'll be filed.
on this case. I'm going to instruct Mr. Carter on behalf of you to file a motion for a new trial to make sure your rights are protected. If you wish to allege that Mr. Carter did not do an effective job, then we'll bring in another attorney to handle the appeal so that issue can be raised, and that's fine with Mr. Carter. He takes no offense.
I think he did an incredible job.
Well, that's fine. I'm just indicating to you that in order to claim your attorney at trial was ineffective or did not do a good job, you have to raise it at the earliest moment, which would be here.
I won't be filing anything against my attorney.
That's fine. I also want to inform you that if the case is appealed, if the Supreme Court of Georgia affirms your case, you have 4 years from that date. The affirmation is made in what they call a remitter. The case is sent back down here to
I think the thing says face up and lace up, and then he has the baby's name tattooed over here. Hold on, let me get back to y'all. Yeah, so that was that. That's one of the most like mic drop sentencing moments I think I've ever seen right there. And you can imagine now why, after seeing this, why this went insanely viral, right? For other reasons too. The case itself was just, it's wild. Now, that being said, so there was that. And also the whole part where the psychiatrist got her psychologist, wherever she is, got up there and testified on that right there at sentencing, right? I'm like, mind blown. Okay. So now we're gonna watch a thing that we're getting closer here. Okay. We're gonna watch a thing from Court TV that's talking about like Cortney getting her sentence overturned and whatnot, but it gives us some more backstory overall on the case. Please hold. Okay, just please hold. Okay, where are we at? Here we are. Okay. Sorry, it takes me a minute to find y'all. Present. Ba-boom. 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 Ba-boom.
What kind of drugs did you use? Weed. And then, okay. I've been clean for the longest. Yeah. And then he cheated on me. And he kept talking to other females. And all of a sudden, there is so much weed hit on me. I'm so weak. Yeah.
You may not remember or recognize that voice. That's Courtney Bell. When we relaunched Court TV, the first trial we covered was the murder of a little angel. Let me show you her picture. Her name was Kalia, little baby Kalia, 2 weeks old, discarded, blunt force trauma, tossed somewhere in the woods. It was tragic. It was heartbreaking. But ultimately, this little baby's mother, who you just saw in that video, and father were convicted of the murder. And then after the conviction, one of the most bizarre sentencing hearings we've ever seen. And it happened like right after the trial. Things were moving fast. This part you will probably remember as you see Christopher Mcnabb, Kalia's father, and Courtney Bell, her mother, being sentenced.
He had pulled up the turtle suit and taken out his penis and was masturbating.
And I was not masturbating at all in front of her, period. The thing fell off when I stood up, and that was it. So I felt like I wanted to say it in front of her since she was the one up here slandering me.
That was the only thing you wanted to tell the court?
I got a lot to say, but I'm not going to be able to say half of it.
I don't know. I don't know what you're going to say.
I'm innocent. I didn't do it. I just don't feel like just because somebody has domestic issues with the female in their life that they love, that they were just able to just say, oh, he don't love you and all that stuff just for air or whatever.
Okay, I'll ask you one simple question. You claim you're innocent, so you tell me what sentence the man or woman that you claim did this should receive.
If you ever find out who did them, they deserve to be under the jail.
Okay, so they ought to get the maximum sentence.
Most definitely.
Okay. On the crime of malice murder, I sent you to life in confinement without parole. On concealing the death of another, I sent you to 10 years in confinement, consecutive or after. Count one. You understand each of your sentences?
Yes, sir.
I didn't do this. Y'all know I didn't do this.
And you chose methamphetamine and Mcnabb over a baby.
It's a sickness, but I tried to be a good mama. I love my babies.
The problem, Miss Mcnabb, is that, like most criminals, you have this version of what a good mama is that is so far from the norm. Now, do you have any other questions? Okay, take her on.
You heard what she said there in her sentencing hearing. Y'all know I didn't do this. An appellate court has now agreed with her. They've overturned her conviction for second-degree murder. What does this all mean? Let me bring in our special guest joining us now in Covington, Georgia, the attorney who represented Cortney Bell, Brian Frost, is with us, represented her at trial. Brian, it's been a while. Great to see you. How have you been?
Good, Vinny. It's good to be back.
All right, let me ask you, first of all, your reaction to this news when the appellate court overturned Cortney Bell's conviction for the second-degree murder of little baby Kalia.
It was shocking. It was very shocking. You don't often see the appellate courts overturn convictions, particularly like this one, on sufficiency of the evidence. They normally give incredible deference to the trial jury in their fact finding. So when we heard this, we were obviously very shocked.
Explain that a little bit more, though. I don't want to skip over this too quickly. The reason why this conviction was overturned, explain that to us.
Well, going back to the trial, quite simply, our defense the whole time was that if you looked at the indictment, the count 1 murder 2, was predicated on count 2, cruelty to children in the second degree. All of these allege that she actually did commit either directly or was a party to the crime of the murder of baby Kalia. Throughout the trial, every witness that came up, all we did was negate that. And by the time we got to closing, the appellate court's opinion echoed my closing argument. It was simply put, there was no evidence, and it was all circumstantial. And when you have circumstantial, the burden of proof not only becomes proving every material element beyond a reasonable doubt, but it also has to be to the exclusion of every reasonable hypothesis, saving that of the defendant's guilt. And that, by that I mean something that would show that she was the direct or proximate cause of that individual's death. And they simply did not have that. They didn't have it at trial, and the appellate courts agreed.
So what happens now? What's the next step? Because this is an appeal. There's a Supreme Court in Georgia. Is it possible that they could overturn what the appellate court said here?
They could. However, the way this opinion was written, in my opinion, the rationale and the reasoning was a very well-written opinion. They went through and they broke it down from every perspective, count by count. Their citations were sound. I would be surprised if the state tries to take this up to the Supreme Court. I don't think, and if they do, I don't think that they will be successful. But we'll find out. They've only got 10 days from last, I think it was Friday. So we'll find out soon enough. But I would be surprised if the district attorney, who is no longer Layla Zahn, she is now a judge, but Randy McGinley is the new district attorney. And I would be surprised if Randy took that up. But that's completely his decision, and we'll have to wait and see what happens. And they could overturn it, but I don't see that.
Okay. In the meantime, let's presume that it's not overturned. That this.
I wanted to pause it real quick to talk about the thing some people are talking about. So, and I just put in the comment section if you're reading the comments. So what I think that took place is that she was sleeping, and Chris got mad, whatever, he'd been on a binger, whatever took place. And I think maybe the baby was crying. He got frustrated. He punched her, something, right? I don't know. I wasn't there. And then he took the baby out, did what he did. And henceforth, that took place. So now again, I have no idea, right? But I think that could be where the judge is basically saying, we remember how the judge was talking or whatever. He's like, you created the environment. To me, it's like the judge is saying, like, look, you helped out with this by creating the environment to allow him in and kept bringing him back and doing this and that. But the court, the appellant court, was like, she technically wasn't there. You know what I'm saying? Like, the evidence was not hands-on there or whatever. So this is where, like, it's one of those, it's a tragic case no matter what ends up happening to it. But it's also legally interesting because of this going on right here. I do not remember what it is that Chris was saying happened. They had so many people coming and going in the house and whatnot. I feel like he maybe tried to blame it on others. Y'all help me out here, because I felt like there was somebody who he tried to directly blame, but that dude took the stand and testified against him. It's been a long time since this happened. I mean, obviously Chris claims his innocence, right? I mean, he's saying he didn't do this, and there's no actual videotape of him doing this. Okay. So I felt like he was trying to blame one of the coming and goings, and that's how it went. But I also feel like she was buried in like his book bag with like some of his items or something like that. I can't 100% remember that part. So anyways, let's keep going.
Stands as is. There was another charge she was convicted of in this case. So what does this mean in practicality for Cortney Bell? Is she walking out of prison anytime soon?
No. She was given, her overall sentence was a 30-15, and that was on count 1. Count 2 merged into count 1. In fact, in order to find count 1, you had to have count 2. So she got those. So those are gone, but she also received 10 years concurrent prison sentence on count 3, which was the contributing to the deprivation of a minor. And in that case, they again thoroughly reviewed the law and what they came up with, and they even made some interesting mentions of the fact that there was no experts that showed what methamphetamine can do. So they even cited at the end of the opinion, for anyone who's interested, that it was several articles about the impact of methamphetamine abuse. Things like sleep deprivation, violent behavior, confusion, insomnia, auditory hallucinations, things of that nature. They also cited the fact that it was, in fact, a crime in the state of Georgia, a felony crime to possess this. So they went along and they said the fact that she was using methamphetamines, he was using methamphetamines, he had recently beaten someone with brass knuckles, he had been beating her, that there was sufficient evidence in that regard to find that she left these children, or in this case, the one child, baby Kalia, in a deprived state that eventually led to the death of the child.
Let me ask you the next question. And this is one everyone's wondering about tonight. And I don't know if you've had an opportunity to speak with her or you've spoken to someone who has spoken with her. What was her reaction to all of this? Is she staying clean in prison? Because I know sometimes it's difficult in prison to stay clean. What can you tell us about the state of Cortney Bell tonight?
I have not had an opportunity to speak with Cortney, so I cannot speak as to that. I'm sure she's elated. One thing that I think is probably worth mentioning, and of course this is up to the Department of Corrections, Pardon and Paroles, is that I don't think it would come as a surprise to anyone to think that your chances of parole on contributing to the deprivation of a minor are probably far greater than they are to murder in the second degree. So I can't imagine that she's anything but is very happy about the Court of Appeals decision. This would possibly, and there's nothing to say that she'll get paroled. I mean, there was a child obviously killed here, and but just the same, I think it increases her chances of a possible parole much earlier than she would have otherwise.
Going back, and I know the way you saw the evidence in the case. We know the way the appellate court saw the evidence in the case, but the jury didn't agree. What, as you think back, what was it that happened in this trial in a case where the appellate court said there was insufficient evidence to convict, which is rare. We can't emphasize more how rare an overturning a conviction on this basis is. What do you think happened at that trial in that jury room?
Vinny, being in that environment, and I know some of your folks were there, the hatred was so thick outside the courthouse. Anytime you went on social media, I mean, it was palpable, and it was just horrible. Everywhere I went, if I went to the vet or to get a haircut, you could feel the hatred just because I was part of this case. She was convicted on pure sentiment, emotion, the fact that she was sitting next to him, and that's it.
Do you think if there were separate trials, it would have been perhaps a different situation if Mcnabb had a separate trial?
I think it would have increased her chance, but there were a lot of people that I ran into in the community that really thought she did it instead, and that he didn't, which was shocking to me, considering that they were watching the same. I mean, they were watching what I was a part of, and there was just no evidence. Every single person that came up, either I had no questions or, the questions all ended up the same. No, she was cooperative. She asked me, the detective Alexander said she asked me for my phone number so she could stay in touch. She identified the bag as Christopher Mcnabb's that the baby was found in. At no point did she do anything or exhibit anything that would have indicated guilt on her part. What happened to her was her mistake was imagining she was in love with a very violent and drug-addled individual who has clearly has severe problems, and I think that the jury had they just weren't forgiving that, and they blamed her for that as the mother, and that's understandable. I understand the sentiment, but from a legal perspective, that's just not how it can be.
And I agree. I think the sentiment, because you have such a vulnerable young child. I mean, all children are vulnerable, but this is a newborn. I mean, a couple of weeks old. How could anyone do anything? And how could anyone not do everything to protect that child? I think that's another big, big part of all this. So,
indeed,
Brian, before we go here, taking a step back, big picture on is there, because we have people that watch Court TV day in and day out. They study our system of justice. Is there any lesson that you see in what has happened here, in as all of this has transpired to where we are tonight?
Well, I don't know that I can do that in any future trials that I can do anything different. In this case, we made a motion to change to venue, but other things.
When I say lesson, not a lesson for you, a lesson for all of us that are concerned about our system of justice.
I would, what I always tell people is, please remember that my client sits here shrouded with the presumption of innocence and will stay that way until the state, who bears the entire burden, we bear nothing. We have to prove nothing. They have to prove every element of every crime. And the juries, I hope and pray, will take that to heart, because if they don't, we will have more people that can be convicted for doing nothing more than being beaten up and taking drugs, which obviously occurs in millions of households all across the world. And that is not the basis for a conviction of murder. But that would be my hope, is that jurors would be cognizant of that, and I will say, tip of the cap to the Court of Appeals for really having the guts on a case like this to do a deep dive and look at this and say, there simply was not enough evidence, and overturn something like this.
Brian Frost, great to catch up with you. You look great.
Always a pleasure.
Thanks
you
so
too.
much for joining us tonight and giving us some insight into all of this. When it came across the wires last week, everyone's like, wow, not expecting that. So, Brian Frost, appreciate it. And by the way, folks, you can watch Brian.
Okay, so yeah, so a couple of things going on in the comment section there. So some theories were that she did it and he didn't, and then you heard the guy say whatever. I mean, I was like, wow, I never thought about that, because when he said that, some people in the community think that she did it or whatever. I mean, I don't know them, you know what I'm saying? I remember when this was going on, people who personally knew them and dealt with them reached out to me, but this was so long ago. And thank you for the people. I think Carolina reminded me of the guy who testified against Chris. So that's what it was. So Chris was trying to blame somebody else, but that dude took the stand, and that pretty much fell apart pretty quickly. And then just the attorney was just saying with Cortney, because that was the thing, when you watched it, and again, I feel like maybe she could have been, currently under the influence of something during the body cam footage or whatever. But that's where I was like, yeah, I'm getting there's a level of genuine, what's going on? But this took place, how do you say it? Over days, and they were arrested at different times, and it was very long and drawn out. And then, yeah, if you remove any kind of emotion from it for a second and look at it from the legal perspective. So with them being up against or going to trial together, I definitely think that did not work in their what do you call it? In her favor. Yeah, Donna brings up a good point. Child neglect is not equal, legally speaking, to murder. Pardon me, I'm sorry. I think that's what they ultimately found. You know what I'm saying? That they came to that conclusion. I'm surprised that they did, but she did, correct me if I'm wrong, I think she did 7 years. She did a minute, right? She didn't get out right away. Because remember, her sentence was basically, she was going to get out in 15 years and then have a 15-year suspended sentence. And there's one running concurrent or something like that. I know, right? Sorry, Shannon. O'Donnell says on a baby Cleo. Hold on. My eyes are doing their thing with the camp in the hospital. Okay. Yeah, because another thing that was going on, that family members got up there, they were, it was very sad. They didn't really even have possession of her, the child, the baby, Kalia. During those 14 days, they were giving her to other people to watch and whatnot. It was not a good situation at all. So yeah, but like I said, Chris, denies that he did it. There you go. Now let's go to the thing that just came out. Please out. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, where are y'all at? Donna says she should have been charged with appropriate crime. And that's the thing that we see so often, is when people are not charged with the appropriate thing. You know what I mean? And then this kind of thing happens. Okay, so hold on, let me get to here. Cortney, sure. Okay, so here we are here. So Cortney, no, this is recent. Jasper County Sheriff's Cortney won on multiple charges, maybe in the Montecito, Covington area. This is by Kate Verity, came out January 28th. And it just says here that, pardon me, they're currently seeking the help locating Cortney Bell, who may be in the Covington area. The JCSO posted a bolo for Bell on Facebook on Monday. that stated she is wanted on multiple charges. Covington News reached out to JCSO, and a spokesperson said that she is wanted on drug charges, though it is not clear the specifics of those charges. When asked if Bell had any other pending charges, they reiterated this says drug charges. Previously, Bell faced charges in the 2017 death of her daughter. We just went over that. And then this goes in a little more detail. On the night of October 6, 2017, Bell and her then boyfriend, Chris Mcnabb, who lived together at the time, reportedly smoked meth. The next morning, Bell awoke and Clea was missing from her crib, with only her pajamas remaining on the bathroom floor. Bell reportedly called the police, alerting them that her daughter was missing. A day later, the infant's body was found in a wooded area nearby. Bell and Mcnabb were ultimately convicted for the murder, along with several other charges. Mcnabb remains in prison where he is serving life. She was given 30 years, 15 years to serve. However, she was eventually overturned. Now they did the first two, they reversed the first two convictions, second degree, cruelty to children, but upheld the third charge of felony contributing to the dependency of a minor. The appeals court determined that Bell's acts of neglect were not the sole proximate cause of the victim's death. The evidence played a substantial part in the victim's death, and that the death was a probable consequence of that neglect. Okay, so they come out of that. Let's just see here. Anyone? Well, then it goes into that. On Mcnabb, we commit that. Here we go. I'm going to skip down to this last paragraph. There was no, and I'm quoting them, what they said, the Justice John Ellington. He said there was no evidence that Clea's death was a reasonably foreseeable consequence of Bell's drug use or drug use in the home by Mcnabb or others, or that it was reasonably foreseeable that Mcnabb would commit the horrific crimes that resulted in Clea's death. And there was no evidence presented that showed Bell was a party to Mcnabb's crimes, that she heard Mcnabb striking Clea and did nothing to stop him, or that she refused to provide Clea with potentially life-saving medical treatment. Okay, interesting on that, because that's the whole thing. Like, if you go down that level of like, okay, say if you're going down the path of she didn't do it, she didn't know anything about it, and whatever. Yeah, there was no evidence showing that like she knew that was going on or whatever. It's very cumbersome. It is very cumbersome. So she's out. She got out, obviously. She's wanted again. We'll see what takes place. I don't know how that would work. Like, because can you imagine? I mean, who knows what the charges are, but if she goes back up against that, imagine that they're going to throw the book at her, right? I mean, oh, pardon me. Yeah, it was a crazy case. It's on, obviously, you saw Court TV, Long Crime. If you wanted to go watch, it's literally one that you can't look away from, right? And it's just all around sad. It's just, I mean, when you see the whole circumstances of all the stuff going on a variety of levels, right? From obviously the death of Clea to just, things that were going on in the relationship and whatnot. It's just, yeah. I'm very curious to know how Chris is managing in prison. I mean, this is not a good charge to be in there over. And he's obviously been in there for a while, right? So who knows? Oh, so yeah. So I'm going to ask again real quick, since more people are in here. Is anybody currently watching any trials going on? And you know what? I'm going to look it up on my thing. Oh, sorry about that. That was my shoe squeaking. I'm curious to see. Please hold. I started watching the one. I'm going to go get the name right here. Yeah, Colin Griffith versus Florida versus Colin Griffith. Is anybody watching that? Or the one about the hair care, where is it? I just saw it. The love affair murder trial, California versus Monica Cementelli. I can't, my eyes are giving out. Wait, which one are y'all watching? The killer kid or the murder, the love affair in California? Excuse me. Colin. Okay. Yeah, I started watching Collins, and that was just the beginning of it. It started sucking me in, right? So yeah, I might do a thing. I might. So we might go live tomorrow and watch some of the Collins stuff to get caught up in it, because I was literally like pulled into it just watching it. I was watching the opening statements today. I know, right? It's like 8 o'clock, and I'm like, oh my gosh. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go in a second, but I will give you a puppy update. So the boy, so yeah, also that Megan Boswell's trial allegedly starts, seating a jury on the 3rd. We'll see. Oh yeah, Donna, I saw that she got a guilty charge. I didn't watch it, so I'm curious to see if people felt like that was justified or not. Oh, wait a second. Chrissy says, I'm paying attention to the ASAP Rocky trial, and I'm waiting for February for the first trial for the evil. Stephen Stern's trial starts in February. Oh my God. There's a lot of, oh my God. Oh, I didn't see that one, Elsa. Yeah, Donna says, Stephen Stearns has some nerve going to trial. Amen. Okay. Ohio says she thought that the verdict was correct. Okay, cool. Yeah, a lot of these major trials we've been watching. Pardon me, we've been watching. The Brian Koberger, I get people who ask me about that. I covered some parts from the beginning. That's one that I watch in the background, and that's one that has been classified under I'm just waiting for it to come out. You know what I'm saying? Because it's so tumultuous online. Oh, and I'm just waiting for it to come out before I even continue. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if they're going to live stream the Megan Boswell trial. I'm desperately trying to go up there for it. But of course, like 10,000 things are happening. And I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to go, but I think I'll be able to. At least for part of it. You know, with the Megan Boswell, I've just followed that one for so long, and it's close enough to where I could go. And that's just one where I'm just curious to see the energy. You know what I'm saying? Like, does she smirk all the time? Like, yeah, that kind of stuff. So we'll see. Oh yeah, Alexa. I don't know what's gonna happen with her. Oh, good trouble says that you during the hospital stay. Pardon me. It was the Sarah Bone. Yeah. Oh, my Lord, that was something. Guilty verdict. I heard ASAP Rocky turned down 180-day plea deal. 180-day plea deal. Oh my God. Oh, Cupcake says, I doubt they'll live stream Megan's trial. The courthouse in Blumpville, Tennessee is kind of small. And Cupcakes, have you emailed me, or have we talked outside here about that? Because I can't keep track of like people's screen names versus their emails and stuff. Because I've talked to a couple of people who live around there who are going to try and go. So yeah. You have, okay, cool. It was remind me again, because it was an email. If it was, do you mind like hitting me up again, so you don't have to put your email here or whatever, or wherever you hit me up, do it again, because it was probably you I was thinking of. I'm like, I need to go find their stuff and reach out to them to look at some stuff. Did you see the updates on Sarah? No, I did not. Where can I go see them? Is Tanika's 2 cents? Is that who is doing them? Right. Oh, cool. Thank you. My concern is this, like, I know I can't get up there for jury selection. So then I'm sitting here thinking, okay, like if it's that small, like is it going to be a fight to get into the courtroom? You know what I'm saying? Because what I'm going to probably do is just go up for a couple of days, check it out. I'm going as well in my area. Okay, Nurse, I remember Nurse Kristen too. Yes. Yeah, hit me up as well if you don't mind, however we talk. Hold on, Sandy says Tanika's 2 cents cover the intake of Sarah. Oh my God, I'll go check it out. When does Stephen Stern start? So in closing, so yeah, if y'all don't mind the people I've talked to, hit me up again, talk about Megan Boswell so we can figure that out, and we'll go from there with that. Might do a live stream tomorrow night to kind of like overview the Colin case. Because that one struck my fancy, I guess you could say. I was like interested to hear the story, but I don't have time to watch the whole thing right now. It might still get moved though if they can't see the jury. Oh my God. She's gonna end up doing time served on that one. She's doing a Sarah Boone. At least she's not writing crazy things. So Sarah filed something today. She's out that an appellant lawyer hasn't contacted her yet. They are never going to hear the end of her. Oh my God. Oh yeah, no, Chrissy, please drop an email. You're never a bother. I don't think we will see Cobra go to Toronto like 2028. I know, right? So the boys went to the vet today. I'll say this in like closing or whatever. We'll tie things up because I got to go head out. The boys went to the vet today. So they had their little appointment for, the snippety snip coming up in like a month or so. And they're teething. And so I was like, okay, Luke's teeth look a little, I'm like, I want to make sure this is normal, right? So take him there. First of all, Luke is 4.1 pounds and Bo is 3.8 pounds, which was kind of surprising because I thought they were at least over 5 pounds at this point. But then they were like, we're going to put them off, or I'm sorry, take them off of the schedule to do the snipper because they're delayed with their teeth. And Luke had, I don't know what you call it, but Roscoe had this too. Where their teeth like basically are coming in at the same time. And so they're like, yeah, you need to like wait for them to catch up because when they go in there, we want to do it all in one fell swoop. They're going to have to like do, get in there and do some work on the teeth. So I was like, okay, go. Okay. So that's where they're at, all right. So they got to delay their little thing or whatever, but I thought it was cute that they weighed, their little not even 4 pounds basically, and they were good. They didn't bark or anything like that, so it was fun. So yeah, so what we'll do, snip body day. Oh yeah, definitely. Pardon me. Yeah, she said, yeah, usually, and what's his name, Bo's completely behind on the teething thing. So I was like, okay, yeah, we'll wait. I'm fine with that. So, yeah. So they're going to hold off for a little bit. Bo definitely fills his Wheaties, though, that's for sure, which is fine, of course. So what we'll do, y'all, is I will remember to put a thing up earlier tomorrow. Sorry about that. Sorry about that, Emily and Andy and Tori. I got the day going today, and then it was like, I forgot to tell everybody it's going live tonight. So anyways, that is it. I appreciate y'all. And again, we'll catch up tomorrow night. We'll check out that other trial or whatever, and then we'll see what all is coming down the pipeline. So that's it. Y'all have a wonderful evening. I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. Y'all take care. We will see you tomorrow. Thank you, Emily. Thank you, Indy. And thank you, Tori. I'll see you soon. Good night, everybody.